Zuckerberg, just pleading with him and saying, Mark, tell me how to create a community. We should own a community like you. How do we do this? And Zuckerberg's response was, he's a geek of few words. That's still true in the movie. In fact, he actually talks more in the movie than he does in real life. His full response to this very powerful man asking this pleading question was, you can't. Full stop, geeky stare. Makes you nervous, doesn't it? Right. And what he came back and said was, you're asking the wrong question. Communities already exist. They're already doing what they want to do. The question you should be asking is, how do you help them do what they want to do better? And his prescription for this, which I love, it was in my last book, is this wonderful phrase. He gives them elegant organization. And that's, in fact, what Mark did. At Harvard had been around for 300 years before he came along. He gave them a tool that helped them elegantly organize themselves better. And I think that's what journalism does. It helps the community organize its knowledge so it can organize itself. I think that's part of what you all do, is you organize knowledge in all kinds of ways. It's also hard in our business to move from the notion of content as a product. Online things are processes. They never begin and they never end. So that has big implications for what we produce. It's no longer owned and controlled by us. You can't sit it down and say, this is mine, there's the beginning, there's the end, I controlled that. Because it's also open and transparent. It's going to be a beta, or for my British friends in the audience, a beta. I ask a lot of people in other languages how they say it, and they say beta, so I think the Americans win that one. Right? How many people you say beta? How many say beta? Oh, how many? Now wait, keep your hands up. Take down your hand if you're British. Okay, I win. So the notion of beta is really hard, I think, for us to get our heads around in publishing. Because we publish. We have a deadline, the press is running, it has to be finished and done. Google sees this all the time. I told the story in the last book. Marissa Mayer talks about the launch of Google News. And those of you who work in digital know that you never release a new product online on a Friday because it ruins your weekend when it breaks. So you only do it on Monday. So the team, as of Thursday, had time to do one more feature. And they were debating whether to do sort by place or sort by time. And all they did, geeks being geeks, was argue for the next 2 days. They did neither. Monday came, they released Google News. That afternoon, Meyer says, they had 330 emails, of which 300 said, would you please give us sort by date, by time? So if you release something that is unfinished and imperfect, which, by the way, is quite a statement of humanity and humility, even from Google. When they put out a beta, they're saying, we don't know what this is yet. It's one of the great lines that they gave to Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. We don't even know what this is yet. We're always going to be changing it, right? And that's the way this new world operates. Well, we don't. We have deadlines. Dead. You're dead if you don't make it. And we're finished with it. And I say that with great angst because I'm having problems finishing my book in time. You haven't heard that before, have you? So when you are open and transparent, when you put out a beta, it is necessarily an invitation to collaborate. Because it says, it's not done yet, so what should we do? What should it be? How do we finish it? How can you make it better? And it's always going to get better. It's never finished. Well, that's a darn hard thing, I think, for us to understand. And so what it means is we've operated in the industrial economy, not just books, but in the industrial economy with a standard of perfection. And we think that's a great thing. We pore over it again and again and again, and by God, it's perfect. Well, of course it's not. It can't be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. But that's the standard we put ourselves to. And so it also meant that we limited the definition of what we were involved with. Only perfect things. So all those wonderful pamphlet-sized books on shelves that are sitting on all those wonderful tables people are buying, they're not perfect. I'll bet they have typos in them. But the people who love them, right? No? No? I'm getting a All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. So I think you try to be as damn good as you can. You always strive to be as perfect as you can, but you acknowledge when you're in a beta that someone can help you make it better. This is one that affects something like a newspaper a little more than you, but as an author, a brand matters, obviously. You're trying to create your brand. When I went to work for the new houses at Condé Nast and Advance about 15 years ago, I was all excited because they still owned Random House. And I said, oh, goody, I get to work with a classy book publisher. And my boss, Steve Newhouse, said, don't get so excited, Jeff. It's a distribution business. Knowing chuckles. So the brand I recognize of the publishing house isn't quite the same, unless there are certain cases where it is. But brands still matter. And the idea is that people are going to go into the bookstore and they're going to be drawn to the brand, one or the other. The brand of the author, the brand of the title, the brand. That's how all media worked. You bought the newspaper, bought the magazine, watched the show on the producer's schedule. Well, then along came search. And it changed the transaction 180 degrees, right? Where it used to be we started with our content, and now the so-called audience starts with a question. And if we have an answer, fine, we're there. If we don't, we might as well not exist. Algorithms were necessary, like Google News or a partner, or a company where I'm a partner called Daylife, because Google doesn't deal well with current content. It needs content to ferment like wine with clicks and links. And so algorithms do a pretty good job of analyzing that content and trying to figure out how to group it. But the most important thing, circle there, I think, is human links. The power of the human link is incredible. And I think that it will surpass the power of Google. Eric Schmidt tells publishers that Google causes 4 billion clicks a month to their sites. For an apples to kumquat comparison, bit.ly, the URL shortener most used in Twitter, and bit.ly, by the way, doesn't just send to publishers, it sends to flaming cat videos. But bit.ly alone, a few months ago, passed 4 billion clicks a month. And consider that bit.ly is only a share of Twitter, and Twitter is only a fraction the size of Facebook. Plus blogs, plus emails. The power of the peers link as our new means of discovery and distribution is critical. It's the whole game. So I met before with Paper C, a new company here in, I got the name right, Paper C, in Germany. And they're going to try to add social stuff, because I think that if you could get to the point, I want to be able to tweet page 187 of a book and link to it. Isn't that powerful? And people can discover it in there and say, wow, what is this? And get to know that. And then maybe you sell them for the full price, maybe you sell them for less, whatever, or maybe Paper C sells them for a page, whatever. You'll make money, you'll figure it out. But the fact that you can get more people to discover it, you can make this stuff, as I say here, embeddable and spreadable like peanut butter. So in this idea that brands are no longer preeminent, it doesn't start with us. You've got to ask who the brand is, and the audience becomes the distributor. I also talk a lot about the link versus ink economy. This chart is absolutely meaningless, but you have to have a picture, so I'll put it there. And in the, Rupert Murdoch says to Google, you're stealing from us. Well, bullshit. Google is sending publishers 10,000 opportunities a minute, according to Eric Schmidt, to create valued relationships with people. When Murdoch said that these links are worthless, one of my commenters in the blog said, and I love this, how nice to know that editors think we're a bunch of worthless asshats. These are people who are coming to you. And if you can't figure out, Mr. Murdoch, how to create a valued relationship, that ain't Google's fault, it's your fault. So the link economy has some imperatives. It says that you must be searchable and linkable to be found. And that's a challenge for us to figure out as an industry, but we need to figure it out. We need to be linked. It forces specialization, which I think is perfect for the book industry because you already have an almost limited number of specialists. That then in turn forces efficiency, but it says that whoever gets the link has to monetize the link, and that's a hard thing. So I want to give you a moment of a sermon here. The book I'm writing is about the value of publicness, and the internet is our new public space. And I want to protect that valuable thing. We have decisions to make now about whether we're